I'm Karen Covey, divorce lawyer, mediator, educator, and the author of When Happily Ever After Ends, How to Survive Your Divorce Emotionally, Financially, and Legally. I'd like to welcome you to my 2-minute divorce tips. These are real answers to your divorce questions. And the question I'd like to talk about today is how to make a parenting schedule. And this is called different things in different parts of the country. Some places will call it a visitation schedule. Some places call it a parenting time schedule or just a parenting schedule. No matter what you call it, the bottom line is it amounts to the time you spend with your kids. And you're going to need a written schedule in order to include that as part of your final divorce papers. So the question is, how do you deal with this? How do you make that schedule? Well, when you're doing that, you've got to think of 3 different types of time. The first is ordinary or regular visitation or parenting time. The second is holidays, and the third is vacations. So let's talk first about the regular time or the ordinary time. That's the time that your kids spend with you and with your ex on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you have a fairly standard schedule, and by that I mean every other weekend and maybe one afternoon or evening a week with the non-residential parent, that's pretty standard and you don't have to go crazy about it. But if you're going to do anything that's a little bit different, I'm going to give you a tip. It really, really helps to take out a calendar of the entire year. That way you can see when your children are going to be with you and when they're going to be with your ex. Then you're going to take 2 different markers, color-coded, different colors for each of you, and you're going to block out on the calendar when your children are with you and when they're with your ex. It just really helps to see it in front of you so you can see, oh, your kids are going to be 3 days with you, 4 days with your ex, or vice versa, or 1 week on or 1 week off, and what is that going to really look like? So putting it on the calendar will help. That's the first tip. And then that should take care of your ordinary time. The second thing you need to think about is vacations. Vacations are, you've got to think about a couple of things. Number one, do you want 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks? Then you've got to think about, can the weeks be taken consecutively, or do they have to be taken just 1 week at a time? And you also need to think about things like winter break from school and spring break from school. Are you going to include those in holidays, or are you going to include those in vacations? It really doesn't make any difference as long as you're clear with what you want. Things to think about that sometimes parents forget. Number one, the vacation time for the winter break is usually 2 weeks, and in there is going to be Christmas and New Year's. So you've got to really plot that out carefully, because if you're going to have the kids 1 week with you and 1 week with your ex, but then they're shifting back and forth for the holidays, it can get to be a lot of travel and kind of confusing. So you want to really make sure that you're clear on who gets what for that break. And then for spring break, the biggest thing to think about, because it's usually only 1 week long, is if you have the whole week going to one person, then that person would have the opportunity to take the kids and go on a little vacation. If you're going to break it up into half and half, that really doesn't leave a lot of time for vacation, so that's going to hamstring you in the future if you want to take the kids and go down to Florida or something for spring break. Just something to think about. So that's vacation time, and then the last part of this is holidays. And again, you're going to want to get out a calendar, and you're also going to want to get a schedule of every holiday, including all the federal holidays, all the Monday holidays like Memorial Day, President's Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. All those days you're going to want to make note of those, and religious holidays of whatever religion that you're in. And then you're going to start to think about who gets which holidays. How to divide them up? Well, you can do it. One way to do it is to say you get them in even years and your spouse gets them in odd years on certain holidays. So you can trade off the holiday. Or you could break a holiday in half, so you get half the day and your ex gets half the day. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. That really depends on the holiday. But the other thing that you have to think about is, what does a holiday mean? Is the holiday just one day? Or is the holiday the day before, the day after? This gets really important, like for instance on those Monday holidays. Is one person just going to get the Monday, or do they get the whole weekend before and the Monday? That gives you more of a solid block of time to work with. So you want to think about those kinds of things when you're making the holiday schedule. And again, make sure you get out a calendar and you block off what holidays you're going to have and what holidays your ex are going to have and is going to have in any given year, so that you can make sure that you don't get all the holidays one year and your ex gets them the next. So those are my tips on how to make a parenting schedule. I hope you found that helpful. If you do me a favor, leave a comment below, and I look forward to seeing you next time on my 2-Minute Divorce Tips.